Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I hope these casual vibes are alright with you. I'm wearing this hat because, like, long day, you know? And so today I'm going to be getting into traveling with an ostomy. This is something that I see people asking questions on in my support group on Facebook, which is the Ileostomy and J-Pouch Support Network. I highly recommend you all join that. You do have to be an ostomate or someone with IBD or someone with a J-Pouch to join that group. It is a closed group, but I highly recommend that any of you people like that join this group. It's very helpful. With that being said, a ton of people in that group ask questions, so I thought that I would share my experience. I have traveled once with an ostomy. It was an interesting experience, but I just thought I would share my journey with that. So what I personally chose to do is carry all of my ostomy supplies with me. I didn't want to put them in my checked luggage because those things get lost all the time, and I would be screwed if I had gone and didn't have my ostomy supplies if my luggage somehow got lost. So what I did is I actually called up TSA and I said, what are your rules for medical supplies? And they said medical supplies does not count as a carry-on item. So normally with airlines you'll get like a purse, a carry-on item, and that's it. You can have an additional bag. It still has to be that carry-on size, but it doesn't count towards your carry-on items or you don't have to pay extra for it. So that's what I did. That's what I highly recommend other people, just because you don't, I guess the basement, I don't know what you would call it in an airplane, can get very, very cold. Or if it's sitting on the tarmac for a long time, if it's in the summertime, you don't want those things to get hot or cold or messed with temperature-wise. I think just having them with you is really safe. So what I did is I had a regular size backpack where I stored all of my ostomy supplies that I would need for my entire trip. I overpacked. I packed a ton of bags, a ton of wafers, things that I would never use, like those, the rings that are in, I still don't know the name of them. I have a whole video talking about ostomy supplies, so if you want to see that, I'll leave a card up here, I think. But they're like the extra band-aids that go on the outside of your wafer. I even brought those. I brought lubricating deodorant, which I never use. I brought a shit ton of stuff. And so a lot of people wonder, okay, what about the liquids? So if you use lubricating deodorant, it actually doesn't count towards your liter of liquids that in the US you are allowed to use. I don't know TSA regulations as far as outside of the US or if you're traveling internationally, but for the US you're only allowed to have a liter, and that total liter of supplies can only be in 3-ounce increments. Like, you can't have an entire liter of liquids. But with medical supplies, that doesn't apply. My other tip I will say on the side is I would have, while all of these items are allowed, I would have your doctor write you a prescription of sorts or some type of documentation saying that you need these. Obviously they're going to see the ostomy and they're going to see that you need these supplies, but I would also have your doctor write a note. I would also label this bag saying that medical supplies are inside, because, and I just googled like medical supply tag, and I put that on the outside of my backpack just so that if for some reason it got moved or I don't know, I just wanted to be safe that people knew that these were medical supplies. I also printed out and laminated these cards that were bathroom passes, which are basically distributed by the Ileostomy and Colostomy organization of something, and you can show that to a stewardess and they it just gives you a little bit more authority in using the restroom if the seatbelt sign is on for some reason. Of course, if you're landing or taking off, you can't use the restroom, like you can't get up out of your seat, but for the most part, those work. Now, actually getting through security, what I did is I put that stuff in there. My bag of medical supplies obviously got flagged because I had stoma paste and that counts as a liquid, and then I had those 2 bottles of deodorizer, and they just asked me, what are these for? And I told them, I just literally spoke for like 5 minutes, and I just realized that it wasn't freaking recording. Okay, so what I was saying was, when you go in, they will, so you walk up to the thing, you put your stuff in the bins. Okay, this is at least in the US. I don't know how it is internationally. In the US, they have these big x-ray machines. You step into the x-ray, you hold your arms like this, the x-ray spins around you, you step out, whatever. With an ostomy, it is going to spot that as like a liquid, something is going on here source. I told the person prior to getting into the x-ray machine, hey, I have an ostomy, just letting you know, and they were like, okay, step in, go to the side. So once that hot spot gets recognized, they have to bomb test residue you and pat you down. It's not as big as big of a deal as you would think. I have heard people freak out and be really upset, and I'm like, if you think about it, it's so sad, but someone could use an ostomy as a means of storing explosive liquids. So I get it. I get why they have to do it. I would rather have every ostomate or every person with liquid medical supplies be tested to be safe than have something happen. And it really wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't add any extra time to my like getting through security. I would add maybe 10 minutes depending. But for the most part, it's really not as big of a deal as people make it seem. And so I walked out. They were like, all right, if you'll move to the side, we're going to pat you down. There was a female TSA agent, and you can ask. People were watching, which wasn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it was a little bit embarrassing, but not really. But you can ask to go to a separate area, but I think that's just ridiculous because it literally takes 2 seconds. So she basically had gloves on that I guess will light up if they hit, or like, you know when you have an oil blotting sheet and it kind of gets greasy? I guess these gloves will react to bomb test residue or anything like that. So she kind of just rubbed my legs, rubbed my back. She didn't touch my butt, didn't touch my privates, nothing, didn't touch my chest. I don't even think she touched from the waist up. I think that she only like touched around where that hot spot was. And I already had my shoes off at this point. So then she didn't even touch my bag at all, didn't even get near it. She had me take my hands and rub all around my bag, touch my bag, touch like the side of the wafer, everything, and then hold my hands out, and then she took a cotton swab and like brushed my hands and then ran that under a light to see if any reactants were on my hands. Of course they weren't. I'm not a terrorist. So then I collected my stuff and I went on. My bag did get flagged, so, like I said, so they pulled me aside and they asked me what the deodorant was for, what the paste was for, and the scissors. I have heard people, so on the TSA website, it says, or if you call TSA, they will tell you that your scissors have to be 4 inches or less. And I've heard of people still getting their scissors confiscated. So I would have your doctor put that in the medical note saying that you require these scissors for medical purposes. So 4 inches or less. I think the people that are getting them confiscated, the scissor blade part is 4 inches or less for them, which obviously isn't in the guidelines. So I did call TSA, by the way, too, before my trip back in May or June, and they said 4 inches or less were fine. I didn't have any issues with it. Just kind of depends on the TSA agent. So, but I've heard people saying, well, why don't you just pre-cut your wafers? But for me and for a lot of ostomates, or if you have a tube, cutting things prior isn't always the option. So Rosie changed every single time I had to change my wafer. She was a different size, especially with my second stoma. He was a different size every single time. He was a different creature every single time. He was wild. So pre-cutting wafers wasn't an option for me. I will say, this is my one tip. So if you need to change your wafer in an airport, I had to change my wafer on the airplane. As we're like mid-flight, I was like, I didn't have a choice. My stomach, I think I had a partial blockage, and my stoma was just getting so big, it was gonna cut off the airflow to it, or circulation, if I kept that wafer on. So what I would recommend is actually getting like a makeup bag and keeping one, or even a plastic bag, and keeping one singular change of your wafer in your bag with you on the flight. That way you don't have to like get into the overhead bin mid-flight, rummage through and get it out. So to wrap up this video, because I'm sure that this has just been like one long ramble fest. I think I covered everything. Carry everything with you. It's not as crazy. A lot of people, there's a big myth that your bag will fill with air in an airplane. No, the cabin pressure is pretty regulated in planes now, so that's not going to be an issue. It's really not as nerve-wracking as you think it would be. As far as emptying your bag goes, even if your bag is just a little bit filled, I would empty it before you get on the flight, just so that you have a fresh, like, emptied bag before you get onto a long flight. I also obviously resist the peanuts on the airplane. I did not do that. I had never had an issue with nuts before, but I really screwed myself and gave myself a blockage because I ate so many peanuts on the flight. So I think that that's really it for this video. I hope that it was kind of helpful. If you guys have any more questions, I'm sure that you do, because I've just rambled on. I should have written out a list of things I wanted to talk about first, but you know. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them down below. You can also contact me on Instagram at the Rolling Colon, or I mean it's just at Rolling Colon, but the brand is the Rolling Colon. You can also email me. I created an email address. I will have it right here, or right here somewhere. That way you guys can send me emails, send me questions, send me your thoughts. What's the deal going on with you? So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. I said this in my beauty video that I posted before this, but I'm going to alternate between beauty and ostomy video, or like lifestyle, ostomy, wellness, whatever. That way I'm giving a little bit of something to everyone. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next video.